Welcome to First Parish in Needham, a Unitarian Universalist congregation founded in 1711 along with the town of Needham. We are a proud LGBTQ welcoming congregation, climate justice seeking green sanctuary, and a level 2 sanctuary supporting congregation for immigration justice. Whoever you are, whatever your background, and wherever you're participating from, you are welcome here. I'm Tracy Zinner, and my husband Darren and our 2 children, Kobe and Emily, have been attending First Parish since 2009. Our children grew up in RE and attending youth group now. Darren and I have been a part of teaching in RE, various committees and leadership roles. And it is that service with other community members that really deepened our engagement as part of First Parish. So I am here in a similar vein today, along with Kevin Grealish, as a member of the Hybrid Worship Helper Committee group. And I'd like to thank everyone who's participated in the past as greeters and ushers and worship helpers and parish hall helpers, and invite you to join this group in the hybrid reopening time. If you are already signed up, you may have realized you've gotten emails from us about dates to serve. We are so thankful. And if not, and you're interested in helping, just reach out to Kevin or I and let us know. As you guys know, being here, our congregation is gathering for Sunday services and programming in a hybrid multi-platform format. And thanks to the outstanding work of our reopening task force, using a scientific evidence-based approach, we're able to create in-person worship experience that's low risk. We're having all people who are in-person participants make a reservation through Eventbrite, wear a surgical or N95 equivalent mask properly, and congregate only in our ventilated, cool sanctuary and in Parish Hall. Although our buildings remain under certain restrictions to the COVID-19 pandemic, our faith community welcomes everyone. As Unitarian Universalists, we have an ethical commitment to serving the most vulnerable, which we will guide our ongoing work to continue to deliver excellent online programs that complement our in-person ones. We hope all of you will plug in throughout the week in Zoom gathering opportunities, including Zoom social hour after every Sunday service. For those of you who have registered for a seat at Sunday services and agree to follow our COVID-19 precautions, welcome to gather for a brief in-person social hour in Parish Hall. You can learn more about all that's happening at First Parish by going to our website, uuneedham.org, or by following us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. To get Zoom links, learn about outdoor and hybrid religious exploration, and register for an in-person seat at an upcoming Sunday service, please sign up for our weekly email newsletter by sending your request to our website and clicking Get Involved Newsletter, or sending your request to office@uuneedham.org. Our very sincere hope is that these online, hybrid, and outdoor services and connection opportunities will help us keep the public health precautions required during this pandemic without losing the spiritual, emotional, and social closeness that we treasure in our faith community. If you're watching this service from outside the church, please take a moment to say hello in the chat and introduce yourselves. Welcome again, and good morning.
As we light our chalice, symbol of our faith, and a dial lamp in honor of the Hindu and broadly South Asian festival of Diwali, which concluded yesterday, we read words from genderqueer Latina UU minister, Reverend Teresa Inés Soto. Some people are used to keeping rules. Don't cross the street when the light is red, only sensible. It turns out that keeping rules isn't the same, though, as keeping covenant, which asks us, instead of keeping a bright line, to keep our promises. To what have we promised ourselves? To this moment and place, to this community, and even tenderly interconnected this planet. We promise ourselves to the idea that we are each and all human beings. We promise that there is something moving between us that we cannot tame and cannot measure. The chalice is a reminder that what flame we keep inside us cannot light the way. The light must spill to shine. Our opening hymn, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, has lyrics inspired by the 13th century Sufi Muslim mystic Jalaluddin Rumi and a tune from Jewish UU minister Reverend Lynn Unger. The original poem asks for every person, regardless of religious affiliation or goodness, to return to the embrace of God's love, even and especially after breaking your vows 1,000 times. You can find the lyrics in your emailed and print order of service. Please join in singing from home or humming here in the building, Come, Come, Whoever You Are.
In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, the covenant is a set of promises. The membership of a congregation strives to honor with one another out in the world. It was my pleasure about a decade ago to work with Scott Muldoon and Phil Murray to help create the covenant that we say as a congregation each Sunday. And so it's my pleasure to help lead you guys today. Although we cannot all gather together in person during this time, we strive to live these promises every day. Please say along with me the words of our parish covenant, as in your emailed and print orders of service. We gather as a loving community to encourage and comfort one another. We gather as a diverse community to support each other in our search for spiritual truth. We gather as a service community to live our beliefs through action and care for our world.
Are you ready? Okay, baby. This book belongs to the Weston Public Library. This is red, and this is yellow. They live happily together in the branches of the olive tree. Do you see the tree? And the leaves? Some days more happily than others. Uh-oh, red got in. Yellow's party. One night, Yellow was getting ready for bed when there was a very loud noise. It was Red playing his strummy. I'm sleeping, Yellow said to Red. You don't look like you're sleeping, Red said to Yellow. Well, I'd like to be sleeping. Did you see the tree? Oh, said Red. And Red went back to playing his strummy more loudly than before. Yellow was upset. Stop playing your strummy so I can sleep, said Yellow. Red was also upset. Yellow, that's this one. And red?
Red.
Yeah. Stop trying to sleep so I can play my strummy, said Red. They weren't getting anywhere. Then,
Green.
there's the tree. Then Red listened, and he heard that the night was very quiet. Red began playing a quieter tune on his strummy.
Wow.
Yeah, there's little Red playing his strummy softly. Oh, Yellow liked it. Red liked it too.
Yellow.
There's Yellow
Orange.
and Red. Then they both had a wonderful idea, which happens sometimes. Sophia, are you coming back? Sophia? Yeah? Sophia? Oh, do you have 2 balls? Thanks so much. Are you going to come here? We have to finish the story. Oh, you have a red ball and it has yellow spots. Very interesting. Oh, then they both had a wonderful idea. Red played his strummy very sweetly for Yellow. We will have pizza later. The sound of Red's strummy helped Yellow fall asleep. There's a star. Look, Yellow's going night-night. Night-night. And everything was good in the night-night. And everything was good in the olive tree once again. The end. What do you think of the book, Sophia? Did you see how Yellow and Red could get along, even if they had a disagreement? We're on to other things now.
This is the time in our worship service that we share the joys and concerns that are very close to our hearts and lives. I am still receiving pre-submitted candles at internminister@uuneedham.org by the Thursday before the service at midnight, which will be shared at the end of the live ritual. If you are in the parish hall and have a joy or concern, all are welcome to quietly offer a stone at the altar and write your joy or concern on a slip of paper, which the pastoral care team and the ministers will see at a later time with your permission. If you are watching on YouTube or Zoom, you may type your candle into the chat box to be held by the community watching the service with you. As our service is live streamed to YouTube, we cannot guarantee that your joys, concerns, sorrows, and milestones will stay within the First Parish community. If you would like to share more privately, you are always welcome to reach out to Reverend Katie, myself, or the Pastoral Care Associate of the Week, Rick Vincent, for pastoral care or to share more privately. And now, if you are in the sanctuary and have a joy or concern, please come forward, light a candle, state your name and pronouns, and briefly describe what is on your heart.
My name is Laura Brown, and my mom, Aurora Brown, is 95, and she lives at Avita, which is a memory care unit. She had pneumonia in one side of her lung and was in the hospital. And then she was at a rehab in Waltham, which was a very good rehab, but it was a pain in the neck to get to. She went home Friday, and my sister and I visited her last night, and she seemed to be very happy to be there.
Good morning. I'm Florence Graves, and I have two concerns about two people whose wrongful conviction cases we've been working on for actually several years. One of them since 2005, and the other since 2011. And in each case, there's always something standing in the way that's more administrative, more it's hard to say, but it's very difficult, even when people are innocent, to for people who are who are in charge of convicting people and keeping them in prison, to see that they may, in fact, be innocent. There are all kinds of stumbling blocks, and so one's name is Stephen. Something very big could happen. We think, we pray. Before Christmas. And in the other case, a woman named Maria, who we've made every effort to try to find an attorney, the right attorney to represent her, and it's very difficult. So prayers aloft. Thank you.
I'm Bob Smart. I haven't been up doing this. It's been a very long time since I've gotten up and done this. Laura, I'm very glad to hear that your mother's doing okay. I had a bike injury about 5.5, well, I guess almost 2 months ago. Surgery about 5 weeks ago for a torn hamstring, and got it repaired. And I'm very much on the mend. And I just want to thank everybody that has helped me over the last several weeks, especially my wife Susie. She's had to put up with a lot. I still can't put on my socks, so she has to deal with that, and tie my shoes and things like that. So it's been quite an interesting time. But people have been terrific. They've helped me. They've come to visit. So it's just been. I'm really thankful.
Good morning. My name is Betty Aponte, and my daughter has neuroblastoma. She's had it now for almost 2 years. Thanksgiving will be 2 years ago she was operated on. She's a very sick young woman. She's at home and with a wonderful husband who's taking over the entire household and care for her. I would appreciate it if you would keep her in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you very much.
we have a pre-submitted candle of sorrow and concern from the First Parish staff team for the 8 dead and hundreds injured during a stampede at the Astroworld Music Festival in Houston, Texas, Friday night. Our hearts are with the victims and their families. Our next pre-submitted candle is a candle of deep gratitude from Becky Siebens for the blessing of Dick's love in my life, along with gratitude to this congregation for the outpouring of caring and support during this time. And our final candle this morning is another candle from Becky Siebens of joy for Tutu's graduation from puppy kindergarten this week. For all the joys and sorrows that we still hold in our hearts, and for the prayers of our neighbors near and far, we'll light one final candle. May the peace in this sanctuary be felt too in each of your homes, as we remember that even though apart, we are still deeply connected. Amen. And let us join together now in the spirit of prayer and meditation with words from Euro-American UU Minister Reverend Audette Fulbright Folson as we honor Veterans Day here at First Parish. Today, we bow our heads in recognition of the great service and sacrifice some have been asked to make. Living through the horror that is war, facing death or physical harm as a specter looming around any corner, we say thank you and know that it will never be enough. Help us to embrace those who have sent forth in our names, who we have sent forth in our names into danger. Give us the strength of will to serve them as they have served us. May they never hunger, may they never thirst, may there always be meaningful work for their hands. May they receive healing care in abundance. And may we, the grateful heirs of a nation built on the idea of liberty, be faithful to pursuing that dream in our own lives and actions. Help us to be vigilant and never complacent. Let each one of us take personally this charge. May it be so, and may it be so. Amen. And now please join in singing from home and humming along in the sanctuary and parish hall our meditative response, "We Would Be One." The lyrics can be found in yesterday's emailed bell notes, your order of service, or number 318 in your gray hymnals.
We would be one, as now we which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
This congregation has been supported by the volunteered time and treasure of its members and friends since its founding in 1711. This is the time in our service when we, the modern stewards of this church, offer what we can to build and sustain the congregation and the world we envision. This month, our collections will be split 50-50 with the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, or UUSC. The UUSC is the merged social service organization of the Unitarian Service Committee and the Universalist Service Committee, both founded during World War II to help those escaping Nazi persecution and to support relief efforts after the war. The symbol of our denomination, the flaming chalice, was originally the symbol of the Unitarian Service Committee. The UUSC today supports justice work through local partners around the world, with a special focus on grassroots organizing abroad and legislative advocacy here in the United States. It is also the organizational vehicle for special UU fundraising efforts after natural disasters. To donate to today's offering from here in the building, you can pass your donation to one of the ushers who will be coming around shortly. And from home or from here in the building on your smartphone, you can also use one of 3 different methods to donate. You can use our text to give program through the number 73256. You can make a donation through our website, uuneedham.org, or you can mail a check to First Parish at 23 Dedham Avenue. Whichever way, remember to specify whether your donation is meant for the plate collection or for your annual pledge, and all the details about how to donate from home or through your smartphone are available in the emailed order of service and your print orders of service. Thank you for everything you are able to give to help support and sustain this congregation and the vital work of our community partners. And many thanks to Lynn Jakowski for our beautiful flowers today in honor of her grandparents, Henry and Helen Robbins. Please take the next few moments to give what you can and know it will be gratefully received. May the ushers please come forward.
What wondrous love is this, O my soul, O my soul? What wondrous love is this, O my soul? What wondrous love is this that brings my heart such bliss and takes away the
Humans have been asking questions about faith and commitment throughout history. In Jewish and Christian traditions, commitment was understood as covenant. God made promises to humankind, and humankind to God. In covenant, people promise to keep God's commandments, and God abides by the promises He makes. But covenant is very difficult to keep. Covenants were made, broken, and renewed. Our Puritan forebears in covenantal religion struggled in their time to understand how they might live a moral life and build a godly commonwealth. But they failed to ask, who is our neighbor? They failed to ask, do I love if I love only my own? Religious triumphalism in religion and their greed for land led to violence and the slaughter. It led to the enslavement of native peoples of this hemisphere and those of Africa. Their covenant was inadequate because without including love for God's creation and its peoples, it produced a covenanting community turned in on its own. Our covenanting must strive to be inclusive and transformative so that we might nurture a world of creativity and peace. What responsibilities do we have? To what and to whom? UU James Luther Adams thought there was something greater to which we could commit our loyalty, to something he called an ultimate human concern. What is your ultimate concern? To what do you owe your loyalty and commitment? As we grow our personal understanding, strengthen, deepen our community, and practice spiritual justice making, we ask, what do we promise one another? How willing and capable are we of commitments that ask us to live our high aspirations? What promises do we make to our faith? What sacrifices are we willing to make? To create and sustain communities of welcome, hope, and service. What promises do we make to the world? How do we become the people who others can count on to stand on the side of love? What do we promise one another?
In just a couple of minutes, Unitarian Universalist lay leader and graphic designer Elliot Senemo was able to share a few thousand years of covenantal history, potential, pitfalls, and guiding questions for the future. Our Unitarian Universalist tradition is enriched both by our religious professionals and our dedicated lay leaders. This is the first Sunday of our monthly theme on covenant and right relationship. Covenant, as you heard, is the ancient theological practice of promise-making and remaking, and right relationship describes the active and accountable way we engage covenantally with one another. 20th century Euro-American UU minister and educator Reverend James Luther Adams wrote that human beings become human by making, keeping, breaking, and renewing promises. In June of this year, our national denomination's Commission on Appraisal issued a report about the practice of covenant in Unitarian Universalism. The commission wrote that gathering in covenant is essential to our faith's concept of membership, governance, relationship amongst lay members and between laity and religious professionals, and our expectations for service outside our church walls. The committee wrote, no single concept is more central to our faith understanding than being in covenant. It is at the core of our identity. It is how we try to build and sustain the beloved community. We set our lives around the praxis of living out the promises we make to one another. It is our promises that hold us together within a diversity of spiritual practice, theological beliefs, personal identities, cultural backgrounds, and aesthetic preferences. We have inherited covenantal practice through the Jewish and Christian traditions out of which Universalism and Unitarianism grew. In some Christian and Jewish denominations, orthodoxy, or right belief, is a major aspect of the vertical covenant with God and the horizontal covenant with other people. In other Jewish and Christian denominations, and certainly in our own pluralistic faith, orthodoxy isn't as critical as orthopraxy, right action, in both the vertical and the horizontal covenant. From the original covenant of First Parish in Needham to today, we see a readjustment in the balance between orthodoxy and orthopraxy. Our current First Parish covenant, adopted by the congregation in 2013, gives us adjectives to describe ourselves: loving, diverse, service-oriented, and specifies how we challenge ourselves to live into those descriptors through encouragement, comfort, support, truth-seeking, and living our beliefs through action and care for our world. The first First Parish covenant was signed by 20 men in March of 1720, when our founding pastor, Reverend Jonathan Townsend, arrived after 9 years of the church waiting for a minister. That first covenant begins with a confession of unworthiness of such a privilege to join together in church community, and of their inability to keep covenant with God or to perform any spiritual duty unless Christ shall enable them. They go on to declare their serious belief in the Christian religion as contained in the sacred scriptures, and with such a view thereof as the confession of faith in our churches has exhibited. It doesn't quite suit us today, does it? And surely we may feel our spiritual ancestors were being somewhat hypocritical with this covenant, given that at least 2 of the signatories were enslavers and all were complicit, indirectly or directly, with the displacement of local indigenous peoples. Not to mention that no women were invited to sign the covenant until a few days after the men. Our congregation's first covenant was exclusive and leaned into an orthodoxy in line with our founders' Puritan faith in predestination and their white male colonial supremacy culture. We have surely moved far in so many ways from our congregation's first covenant, though there are seeds in there for what has blossomed today. As First Parish's founders wrote in 1720, the community pledged to choose the things that please God and to heartily strive to conform their lives in all the duties of a godly, sober, and righteous life. There's orthopraxy amidst some heavy theism. Our founders continued that their purpose in gathering together was to lovingly watch over one another and watchfully avoid all sinful stumbling blocks and contentions as becomes a people of God, a people whom God has bound up together in a bundle of life. That's one way of saying we offer encouragement, comfort, and support to one another on the responsible, never-ending journey towards spiritual truth. I'd even say we still have some right beliefs in modern Unitarian Universalism, like the inherent worth and dignity of every person, the fundamental interdependence of all existence, and the dream of peace, liberty, and justice for all, though we still have far to travel on the journey towards spiritual wholeness, healing from systemic oppression and personal prejudice. And I'd say we still have some exclusions in our covenant, though we have drawn the circle of inclusion wider because we do ask first parishioners to value diversity of belief and practice, interdependence over independence, and collective action to right what's awry in our world. Not everyone is willing to sign up for that. But we are a faith community with a strong reliance on behavioral promises to one another, not on a theological creed. Covenantal faith allows us to practice how to best be human together, held in love and accountability. Not that we expect perfection, but the very opposite. We know our covenantal congregations are safe, brave spaces for the lifelong journey of mistakes and triumphs toward becoming our best selves and co-creating the beloved community. How are we living our modern covenant today? What is the orthopraxy of our living faith? How do we evaluate what right action is from situation to situation? For anyone who has taught or taken in Our Whole Lives UU Sexuality and Sex Ed course, you know that we Unitarian Universalists don't really give many hard and fast rules. Instead, we offer guiding ethics and guiding questions. We heard in our video this morning some questions to consider about covenant and right relationship. Who is our neighbor? What responsibilities do we have? To what and to whom? To what do we owe our loyalty and commitment? What sacrifices are we willing to make to create and sustain communities of welcome, hope, and service? How do we become the people who others can count on to answer the call of love? What promises do we make to one another, to our faith, and to the world? We might reflect on these orthopraxical covenantal questions in each of our own hearts. Who is my neighbor? What responsibilities do I have? To what and to whom? To what do I owe my loyalty and commitment? What sacrifices am I willing to make to create and sustain communities of welcome, hope, and service? How do I become the person who others can count on to answer the call of love? What promises do I make to my neighbors, to my faith, and to the world? I believe some of these questions can be answered with some UU orthodoxy. Who is our neighbor? A being of inherent worth and dignity. To what do we owe our loyalty and commitment? To the interdependent web of all existence, comprised of inherently worthy and dignified beings. But then surely we get into orthopraxy, which is situational and unique, though grounded in our shared ethics. What responsibilities do we have? What sacrifices are we willing to make? How do we become the people others can count on to answer the call of love? Each of us will have different ways of answering these questions out of our own gifts, our own growing edges, our own boundaries, and our own needs. Yet our First Parish Covenant calls us to take actions of comfort, encouragement, and care. Lay Black UU scholar and consultant Dr. Takia Nur Aman wrote, "Ours is a faith that calls us to do. Being Unitarian Universalist in part means maybe you don't pray the way I do, maybe you don't pray at all, but how do we live together in equitable community despite what I might think about God or what you might think about God? This is a faith that calls us to commit to the work of making justice. This is a faith that calls us to think about what it means not to believe the same, but to live together in beloved community, despite our own discrete perspectives about spirituality or the afterlife. That is part of the call, the mandate of what it is to be a Unitarian Universalist, to figure out how we live together in loving, equitable, just relationship. Like red and yellow in our Time for All Ages, by choosing First Parish and Unitarian Universalism, we are challenging ourselves to figure out how to live together with what we can offer and need and what others can offer and need in our congregational olive tree. And we are challenged to figure out how to live together in our global olive tree. What promises do we make to our neighbors, to our faith, and to the world? In my heart, there are two directions this question takes us. First, to indeed live our beliefs through action and care for our world, and second, to offer our soul-lifting, ethics-strengthening, transformational faith to others. As Reverend Teresa Inosoto said in our chalice lighting, the chalice is a reminder that what flame we keep inside us cannot light the way. The light must spill to shine. For those of you who were there in May 2015, Indigenous UU minister Reverend Clyde Grubbs offered the charge to the congregation, to all of you, at my installation as settled minister here at First Parish. He reminded us of the traditional meaning of parish, which included the whole geographic region surrounding the committed church membership. As we enter the holiday season and emerge cautiously from what we pray was the worst of the pandemic era, it may be time for us to consider once again our covenant with and service to the broader parish. As we enter and emerge, how do we set our priorities for our time and talents in line with our UU ethics of both charity and justice? As we enter and emerge, who among our neighbors might benefit from engagement with our faith tradition? as we enter and emerge, are we prepared to share with others what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist, to be part of a covenantal, not creedal tradition? When we are out in the community doing good work, let us remind each other and the broader parish that our good work is inspired by and supported by our faith. When someone asks us about First Parish, let us tell them that it is a covenantal community of spiritual seekers who offer love and accountability to one another as we strive toward our highest ideals. When someone asks us, what is Unitarian Universalism? Let us tell them that we are a promise-renewing people who respect the world's philosophical teachings that point us towards equity, compassion, partnership, and peace. So to end with words from Euro-American UU Methodist minister and scholar, Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker. Let us covenant with one another to keep faith with the source of life, knowing that we are not our own, earth made us. Let us covenant with one another to keep faith within the community of resistance, never to forget that life can be saved from that which threatens it, even by small bands of people, choosing to put into practice an alternate way of life. And let us covenant with one another to seek for an ever-deepening awareness of that universal love which springs inwardly in us, even when our hearts are broken by our own failure or the failure of others cutting into our lives. Even when we have done all we can and life is still broken, we can be bold in seeking to fulfill the promise. May the covenant that ties us together offer comfort and support in times of trial and offer us challenge and courage to fulfill the promise of our faith to co-create a more just and beautiful community and future. Blessed be, and amen.
They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn.
As we close our worship today, remember that all are invited to our social hour on Zoom and in the parish hall. Remember for social hour in the parish hall that you must keep your mask on over your nose and mouth, and that you should not converse in the hallway between the sanctuary and parish hall, as that space is not ventilated. Keep a careful eye out for emails from First Parish and follow us on social media so that you can keep up with opportunities for connection for all ages throughout the week and with updates on our reopening and COVID-19 precautions. You can sign up for our weekly email, The Bell Notes, by clicking on Subscribe to Newsletter on our website, uuneedham.org. Coming up at First Parish, Generic Ministry is starting their annual jacket and coat drive for the unhoused community in the Boston area. You can be in touch with Rick Vincent for how to get involved. You can also learn more in the Bell Notes about the coat drive and about how to support Temple Beth Shalom as they support an Afghan family getting settled in the Needham area. Also consider attending the annual Needham Diversity Summit next Sunday, November 14th, where Reverend Katie will be a panelist. Join First Parish throughout the week on Zoom as well at Caregivers Support Group right after church today, the Lane Lyceum on Tuesday night, Writing Escapes or Vespers on Thursday, Creative Escapes or the weekly Climate Vigil on Friday, or the Grief and Loss Support Group next Sunday. You can find more information about all of these programs in your bell notes. Please remember, if you fall ill or need any pastoral support, to reach out to me, Reverend Katie, and the pastoral care team and caring crew via phone or email. And to reach out to our office administrator, Susanna Whitman, if you have any trouble signing up for the bell notes or logging into our online directory, The Realm. We always extinguish our chalice with words promising to carry its flame in our hearts until we are together again, no matter how long it is, until we are all together again. So please join me from home or here in the building in saying those words written by Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Elizabeth Selly Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our closing hymn, We Are Building a New Way, was written by Martha Sandifer, a vocalist and percussionist who draws inspiration from folk music around the world. The song was arranged by Euro-American UU Jim Scott. You can find the lyrics in your emailed or print orders of service or at number 1017 in the teal hymnal. We will sing just the first 3 verses. So please join in singing from home or humming along in the building. Our closing hymn this morning, We Are Building a New Way.
As we close our worship, please take these words adapted from modern Black UU minister, Reverend Carol Thomas Sissel, with you as a benediction. Let peace reside in our hearts. Let grace be spread in the world by our caring touch. Let love spill from our mouths whenever we speak. Move from this time carrying the blessings and responsibilities of living in community. And remember, we are never, ever on this journey alone. Our service begins when our service ends. Blessed be, and amen.